You are one hit from dying. Your hands are tight on the controller. The last enemy swings and somehow it misses and you land the final shot and you win with a sliver of health left. That was incredible. That was also, quite possibly, not you. There is a decent chance the game had already decided you were going to win that fight and spent the last 30 seconds quietly making sure it happened. Not by cheating in your favor exactly, by turning a dial you have never seen, that exists in a menu you cannot open, and that has been adjusting itself to you since the moment you started playing. It has a name. Developers call it dynamic difficulty adjustment, and once you know how it works, you cannot play anything the same way again. Let's start with the version you have already caught. You are in last place in a racing game, and then, somehow, you are not. The cars ahead slow down for no reason. The item you get is spectacular, while the guy in first place gets a banana peel. That is called rubber banding, and it is one of the oldest tricks in games. The computer-controlled racers are not driving. They are being pulled along an elastic line attached to you. Fall too far behind, and the line drags them backward. Get too far ahead, and it drags them forward. And in a lot of kart racers, the item you receive is not random at all. It is weighted by your position. Last place gets the game-breaking items. First place gets the useless ones. The system is explicitly designed so that being in front is dangerous, and being behind is survivable. You already knew that one. Everyone does. It has been a running joke for decades. Here is what should bother you. That is the crude version. That is the one they let you see. Now the invisible one. In 2005, a game called Resident Evil 4 came out, and for years afterward, players argued about it. Some swore it was brutally hard. Others found the same sections manageable. Both groups were right, and neither of them knew why. The game was running a hidden difficulty scale, roughly 10 steps, and moving you up and down it constantly based on how you were performing. Not between missions, during them. Die a few times, and enemies take less damage to kill, become less aggressive, drop more ammunition. Play well, and it quietly turns the pressure back up. Nothing appears on screen. There is no notification. The game you are playing is being rewritten around you while you play it. And the entire design goal is that you never notice. That is the important part. Not that it exists, that the concealment is the feature. Because the moment you know the game is helping you, the help stops working. A victory you know was handed to you is not a victory. So the system has to be invisible, or it has no value at all. Now let's go one level deeper, because it gets much more sophisticated than a difficulty number. Around 2008, a cooperative zombie shooter did something that changed how a lot of games are built. Instead of placing enemies in fixed locations, it ran a system that decided in real time where enemies should appear, how many, and when. The developers called it the AI Director. And the Director was not trying to kill you. It was managing something much more specific. It tracked how stressed the players were, using things like how much damage you had taken, how much ammunition you had, how long since the last attack, and then it shaped the level to produce a rhythm. Build tension, release it, let you breathe, build again. If you had been fighting for too long, it would quietly thin the enemies out and let you find supplies. If you had been walking safely for too long, it would send a horde. It was not simulating a zombie apocalypse. It was writing a piece of music, and you were the instrument. Which means the terrifying moment when a horde arrived at exactly the worst possible time was not luck. It was scheduled by a system watching your ammunition count. And this thinking is now everywhere. Modern games are full of what designers sometimes call mercy mechanics. And once you know the list, you will start recognizing them. There is last hit protection. In a lot of action games, the blow that would have killed you at full health leaves you at 1 the first time. The game is checking whether the damage would finish you and deciding this once that it will not. There are enemies that miss on purpose. Some shooters instruct enemies to deliberately fire wide for a short period after you drop below a certain health threshold, giving you a window to escape. You are not dodging. They are missing on instruction. There are hidden extra frames on your dodges. There is aim assist that is far more generous than most players realize, quietly pulling your crosshair toward targets. There are platformers that let you jump for a fraction of a second after you have already walked off the edge, because it feels better than being punished for a frame of timing. Some of this is genuinely good design. Games are supposed to feel good, and a lot of these tricks exist to make the game match what your brain thinks happened rather than what technically happened. But hold that thought about what the system is optimizing for, because now we get to the part that is less charming. The dial is not only inside the game, it is in who you play against. If you play any competitive game online, you have been sorted into matches by a system, and you probably assume that system is trying to find you a fair fight. Roughly equal skill on both sides. May the better player win. That is one thing it could optimize for. It is not the only one. In 2017, researchers working in the games industry published a paper on a matchmaking framework built around a different target. Instead of matching players purely for fairness, the system was designed to predict how a given match would affect a player's likelihood of continuing to play, and then to arrange matches to maximize that. The stated goal in the paper is engagement, keeping players playing. Think about what that actually implies. A perfectly fair match is not always the match most likely to keep you online. Sometimes the optimal match, from the system's point of view, is one you narrowly lose in a way that makes you want another go immediately. Sometimes it is a comfortable win after a losing streak delivered right at the moment you were about to close the game. Separately, a major publisher was granted a patent describing matchmaking that could pair players in ways likely to encourage in-game purchases. Put a newer player against someone using an item, so the newer player wants that item. Then, after they buy it, match them where it performs well, so the purchase feels justified. I want to be precise here, because this is where people exaggerate. A granted patent is a description of a method, not proof that it shipped in any particular game. The company said it was not implemented. What the patent proves is not what was done, it proves what was considered worth protecting. And that tells you exactly what the industry understands about you. And here's how you can tell how sensitive all of this is. Watch what happens whenever players find the dial. It follows the same pattern every time. Someone data mines a game, or a developer says something a little too honestly in an interview, and within a day there are threads with thousands of posts. Not calm discussion, genuine anger. People who loved a game the day before now describing it as rigged, fake, insulting. And notice what they are almost never angry about. They are rarely angry that the game was easier than they thought. They are angry that they were not told. Because a difficulty setting you choose is a contract. You picked hard, the game gave you hard, and when you won it meant something because you knew the terms. A dial that moves on its own breaks that contract. Suddenly you cannot tell which of your victories were yours. Every single one is now in question, retroactively, including the ones from years ago. That is why studios stay so quiet about it. Not because the systems are unethical on their own, but because the value of a win is made entirely of the player's belief about how it was earned. Explaining the mechanism destroys the thing the mechanism exists to produce, which is an unusual position for any product to be in. Imagine a car that steered slightly for you, and the manufacturer could never mention it because the whole point was you believing you were driving. Now, the actual mechanism underneath all of it, because none of this is really about difficulty. In psychology, there is a well-known idea about the state people enter when a challenge sits precisely at the edge of their ability. Too easy, and you get bored. Too hard, and you get anxious and quit. Between those two is a narrow channel where attention locks on, time distorts, and you look up and 3 hours are gone. Every system we just described is a machine for keeping you inside that channel. That is the whole design. The difficulty scale, the director, the mercy mechanics, the matchmaking, none of them are trying to test you. They are trying to hold you at the exact tension where you cannot stop. Which brings us to the thing that should genuinely change how you think about this. The game is not measuring your skill. It is measuring your likelihood of quitting. Those sound similar. They are completely different. A system that measures skill wants to know how good you are so it can rank you honestly. A system that measures quit probability wants to know how close you are to putting the controller down so it can intervene before you do. And the single most effective intervention ever discovered, in games and everywhere else, is the near miss, not the win, the almost. Losing badly makes people stop. Winning easily makes people bored. But coming within one hit, 1 second, 1 point, and failing produces something much stronger than either. Your brain treats it as evidence that success was right there, that the next attempt is the one. That feeling of "I almost had it" is not a side effect of a well-balanced game. In a system optimized for engagement, that feeling is the product. And now step back from games entirely, because the same machinery is running on you in places with no controller at all. Your video feed is a difficulty dial. It watches how long you stay and adjusts what it shows you to keep you at the edge of stopping without crossing it. Dating apps decide who you see. Shopping sites decide which price you get shown. Learning apps time their notifications for the moment you are most likely to lapse. All of them are doing the same thing that Zombie Shooter was doing in 2008. Tracking your stress and shaping the next thing you see to produce a specific rhythm in you. The difference is that the game was honest about being a game. So here is what I would actually do with this. Not quit anything, just notice the near miss. The next time you feel that pull, the one that says "one more, I was so close," that is the moment to look at it directly. Because that feeling is the most engineered sensation in modern software. It is not a coincidence, and it is very rarely a coincidence twice. You will still play. That is fine. Games are good. Just know which part of the experience is yours and which part was scheduled for you by something counting how much ammunition you had left.